Welcome to Nightmare Whispers, Shadows of the Unseen. Where the shadows tell stories that linger long after the lights go out. I'm your host, and tonight, we're diving into 3 true tales that'll make you question what's hiding just out of sight. These stories come from ordinary people who crossed paths with something unexplainable. Grab a blanket, dim the lights, and let's step into the fog. But be warned, once you hear these whispers, you might never feel alone again.
This first story takes us back to October 2018, when I was 19, working the night shift at a gas station on a lonely highway outside my small hometown. Surrounded by cornfields and dense woods, it was the kind of place where the silence could feel alive. The job was simple: clean the pumps, stock shelves, and handle the occasional trucker grabbing coffee at 2 a.m. I didn't mind the quiet, until one foggy night changed everything. It was a cold, misty evening, the kind where the fog wraps around you like a second skin. The station was dead, no customers, just the hum of fluorescent lights and the fog pressing against the windows. I was behind the counter, scrolling through my phone, when the bell above the door chimed. I looked up, expecting someone, but the store was empty. The door was still swinging, like someone had just walked through. I chalked it up to the wind or a faulty sensor. Old buildings have quirks, right? I stepped out to check the door, locking it just in case. That's when I glanced at the security camera feed under the counter. The outdoor camera showed nothing but fog. Thick, swirling fog. But for a split second, I saw something move. A tall, thin shape, blurry, like it was part of the mist. I blinked and it was gone. My heart skipped, but I told myself it was just my imagination. Late nights and energy drinks can mess with your head. Around 1 a.m., the power flickered. The lights buzzed, dimmed, then came back on. I grabbed the baseball bat we kept under the counter, not for robbers, but for raccoons that got too bold near the dumpster. Then I heard it, a faint tapping, like fingernails on glass, coming from the stockroom at the back. That door was always locked at night, and I had the only key. I called out, "Who's there?" No answer. Just tap, tap, tap. Slow, deliberate, like someone was testing me. I crept toward the stockroom, the air growing colder with every step. When I reached the door, my stomach dropped. The lock was undone, not broken, just unlocked, like someone had a key. I gripped the bat and pushed the door open. The stockroom was dark, the single bulb barely cutting through the shadows. Boxes of chips and soda lined the shelves, but everything looked wrong. Things were nudged out of place, like someone had been through. And then, in the far corner, I saw it, a figure. Too tall, its head nearly brushing the ceiling. It didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, blending into the shadows. I couldn't see its face, but I felt its gaze. My flashlight shook as I aimed it at the corner. The moment the light hit it, the figure vanished. I slammed the door, locked it, and ran to the counter. The camera feed showed nothing outside, but the indoor camera, the one pointed at the counter, caught something. As I'd walked to the stockroom, a shadow trailed behind me. Not mine. Something tall, thin, and wrong. I didn't finish my shift. I locked the register, grabbed my stuff, and bolted to my car. The fog was so thick I could barely see the road. But I drove home, locking every door and window. I quit the next day, no explanation. My manager didn't ask questions, just said they'd had trouble keeping night shift workers for years. Weeks later, I told a friend who'd grown up nearby. He didn't laugh. He said that highway had stories, tales of tall, shadowy figures in the fog, seen by drivers who never stopped. Some called it a ghost. Others said it was older, tied to the land. I don't know what I saw, but I never worked a night shift again. And I still avoid that highway when the fog rolls in.
That's just the beginning. Some places hold secrets that don't want to be found. Our next story takes us somewhere even stranger, a place where the line between reality and nightmare blurs.
This happened in October 2016, during that weird clown hysteria that swept the country. You remember, people posting about creepy clown sightings, most of them hoaxes, but a few were real. I was 16, a junior in high school, living in New York City. I'd just finished 7th period and hopped on the 6 train uptown to head home. It was a Wednesday, nothing special. The train was oddly empty, but I didn't think much of it. I had my headphones in, blasting music, probably Drake, and was reviewing chem flashcards on my phone. I wasn't paying attention to anything around me. Big mistake. I was planning to get off at 96th Street, a route I'd taken 100 times. It was second nature. But as the train pulled into the station, something felt off. The air felt heavier, like the whole car was holding its breath. I stood up, still focused on my phone, and headed for the doors. As they slid open, I saw him, a clown. Full getup, rainbow pants, baggy yellow shirt, red suspenders, giant red shoes, and white makeup smeared across his face. No wig, just a bald head that made him look even creepier. He was standing in the doorway, blocking my path, not moving, not speaking. I froze. I'd heard about the clown sightings, but being face to face with one? My brain couldn't process it. He didn't try to get on the train, just stood there, staring. I had maybe 5 seconds before the doors closed, so I tried to brush past him. The moment I moved, he leaned down, fast, like he wanted to get right in my face. I dodged, sprinting past him onto the platform. That's when I heard his footsteps, heavy, uneven, chasing me. I glanced back and saw him running, his stride jerky, like his limbs didn't fit together right. In his hand was a kitchen knife, glinting under the station lights. The 96th Street station was quiet that afternoon, no one else around. I ran up the stairs, heart pounding, and didn't stop until I was on the street. I called the police, shaking as I told them what happened. They sent someone to check, but the clown was gone. No trace. For weeks, I was paranoid. I kept thinking he knew where I lived, that he'd show up at my door. I stopped taking the train alone for a while. My story might have ended up on the news as one of those clown sightings. I'll never know. But I do know this. That clown wasn't just some prankster. There was something wrong with him, something that wasn't human. I still check over my shoulder when I'm at a train station, especially at night.
Some encounters leave scars you can't see. Our final story pushes us deeper into the unknown, where the ordinary becomes a trap, and the truth is far worse than you could imagine.
This last story isn't your typical scary tale, but it's one I'll never forget. It happened 2 years after I graduated college, when I was jumping between odd jobs to make ends meet. I was 24, living in a small town in Texas, browsing Indeed for anything that paid better than DoorDash. One night, I found a listing that caught my eye, a private lifeguarding gig at a hotel a few towns over. The pay was insane, $30 an hour, which was unheard of for a pool job. But there were red flags. The hours were weird, 5 p.m. to 1 a.m., a night shift for a pool. And the listing specifically asked for someone who didn't speak Spanish, which was odd in a town where most people were bilingual, including me. I'm half Mexican and grew up speaking Spanish. The hotel was in a predominantly Spanish-speaking area, so the requirement made no sense. Still, $30 an hour? I figured I could play dumb and applied. I got a response within hours and was invited to interview. The first day, I pulled up to the hotel, a standard, slightly rundown place. A friendly guy, short and stocky, greeted me. We hit it off, laughing as he showed me around. But then another guy appeared, tall, unsmiling, staring me down like he was sizing me up. Without warning, he started speaking to me in Spanish, casual stuff about the weather. I knew he was testing me. I gave him a blank look, pretending I didn't understand. He smirked, introduced himself as Esteban. and said he was just messing with me. The friendly guy, Heath, laughed it off, but I felt uneasy. They explained the job: lifeguard the pool, collect money from non-guests, and call Heath if anything went wrong. Oh, and one more thing. If anyone showed a blue wristband, I was to let them into the pool house, a big building behind the lifeguard stand. No questions asked. I didn't like it, but the money was too good to pass up. The first few weeks were fine. The pool was busier than I expected, especially at night. I collected cash from non-guests, kept an eye on swimmers, and didn't see any wristbands. Then, about a month in, a guy showed up, buff, shades, white button-down. He flashed a blue wristband, and I unlocked the pool house. He went in with a small backpack and came out an hour later, his bag noticeably fuller. He didn't say a word, just left. More wristband wearers started showing up, sometimes in groups. The pool got busier, and I started collecting way more money than made sense, people overpaying by hundreds. I called Heath about it, and he brushed it off, saying people make mistakes. But he hung up mid-sentence, and that's when it hit me. I was in over my head. Money laundering, drugs, something worse. It was happening in that pool house, right behind me. I kept quiet, too scared to quit. The wristband wearers got friendly, learning my name, tipping me, high-fiving me. I overheard bits of their conversations in Spanish, talk of product and deals. My suspicions were confirmed, but the money and attention made it easy to ignore. Then one day, I saved a kid from drowning in the deep end. Nothing heroic, just doing my job. But the crowd gave me a standing ovation, and Heath came down to thank me personally. The kid was his son. The next day, Heath, Esteban, and a group of wristband wearers greeted me with wine, toasting my heroics. But one guy made a toast in Spanish, laughing about the money they were making and the lives they were destroying. Everyone laughed, but I felt sick. I realized I'd been complicit in something dark. That night, my mom called while I was at the pool. She only spoke Spanish, so I stepped into a corner to talk privately. When I hung up, Esteban was standing there, staring. "How long you known Spanish?" he asked. I lied, saying I was just practicing with a friend, but his eyes said he didn't believe me. My heart raced. I thought he might hurt me. He just said, "Okay," and walked away. Before my shift ended, he told me to come in early the next day for a new opportunity and slipped me $200. I never went back. I left that night, quit over email, and avoided the hotel. For months, I was paranoid, checking my street for suspicious cars, jumping at every noise. I still don't know what was happening in that pool house, but I'm certain I was one wrong move from disappearing. Sometimes, I wonder if they needed me as a clueless front, a disposable face for whatever they were hiding.
That's all for tonight's Nightmare Whispers. These stories remind us that the scariest things aren't always monsters, they're the shadows that follow us, the choices we make, and the truths we try to ignore. If you've got a story that keeps you up at night, share it with us in the comments or send it to our channel. Subscribe, hit that bell, and join us next time for more whispers from the dark. Sleep tight, if you can.